Hello friends, this video on human reproduction part 18 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now let us talk about another important topic, that is implantation. So now we saw that fertilization also happened, so zygote is also formed. Now the thing is, the zygote will have to move from the fallopian tube to the uterus, and not only that, in the uterus it should get implanted, that is, it should get fixed there. So how will it get fixed in the uterus? So let us have a quick look. So implantation of zygote. Now as we saw, that result of fertilization is a single cell diploid zygote. So till here we have already discussed. So now let us see what happens to this diploid single zygote. So now mitotic divisions take place repeatedly. Now when it takes place repeatedly, what happens? So the zygote divides mitotically to form blastomeres. Now what are blastomeres? Okay, so let us understand it in this way. So zygote was a single cell, right? So this single cell undergoes mitotic division to form two-cell structure. This two-cell structure further underwent division to form a four-cell structure. The four-cell structure further underwent division to form a eight-cell structure, right? This again further formed a 16-cell structure, right? So this is how repeated division started taking place, and these multi-cell structures were known as blastomeres. So blastomeres is the name given to these multi-cell structures. Okay, so what happened later? Later, these blastomeres with 8 to 16 cells were called as morula. So morula is the name given to an embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres. So blastomere in itself is a group of cells, right? So when you have almost 8 to 16 blastomeres, that is a morula. So gradually a morula was formed. So the structures which are present inside the morula, they are all blastomeres, that is, they are all aggregate of cells. And then later from the morula was formed the blastocyst. So what is a blastocyst? This is further division of morula gave rise to the blastocyst. So here if you see, this started with the zygote. So this is the zygote. Then it formed a two-cell structure. Then it formed a four-cell structure. Then it formed 8-cell structure, and so on. So that is how a morula was formed, and then a blastocyst was formed. If you see here, a blastocyst was formed, and this blastocyst gradually developed, and finally it got attached to the wall of the uterus. So if you see, as eventually the mitotic divisions are taking place, eventually this zygote is also moving towards the uterus from the fallopian tube. So the blastocyst, as I said, it again consists of two layers. One is the trophoblast and one is the inner cell. So the blastocyst in itself had two layers. So let us suppose if this is the blastocyst, it has one outer layer which is called the trophoblast, and it also had an inner cell, that is a group of cells in the inner side. So this trophoblast, being the outer layer, what it did, it attaches itself to the endometrium. So in the uterus, this innermost layer is the endometrium. So the trophoblast of the blastocyst, this is trophoblast. So trophoblast connects or attaches itself to the endometrium. And what about the inner cell? The inner cell differentiates to form the embryo. So finally, what is the structure? Once it gets attached to the endometrium, what happens? Outside you have the trophoblast, with which it is actually connected to the uterus, and inside you have the embryo, and that embryo is formed from the inner layer of cells. So these cells actually form the embryo. So later you will actually have the embryo inside, and the outer one is attached to the endometrium. So this is how implantation takes place. So that single celled zygote gradually got converted into an embryo which was implanted or which was fixed in the uterus. So from where did the movement start? The entire movement started from the ampulla region. So this region was ampulla, right? Ampulla region of the fallopian tube. Then it gradually reached towards the isthmus. So by the time the blastomeres were formed, it already reached the isthmus. and by the time it formed the blastocyst, it entered into the uterus, and finally it got implanted, or it got attached to the endometrium of the uterus. So let us have a look at the entire process once again with a bigger picture on screen. So initially a single celled zygote was. So if you start counting from the day fertilization happened, so once fertilization happened, the zygote is formed. So this is the zygote, that is a single diploid cell, and this is the day one from fertilization. The first day itself, a single celled diploid zygote was formed. Now, as day passed, what happened? It underwent mitotic division and formed a two-cell structure. So this is the two-cell stage. And when did this happen? This happened the very next day, that is on day 2. Again, over a period of time, over a period of 1 or 2 days, around day 3, the 4-cell stage was formed. So where again mitotic division had happened. And then later it formed 8-cell stage. So this 8-cell stage was formed around day 4. So this was 8-cell stage. Now you see gradually it is entering inside the uterus. That is why I had told once in one of the previous slides that it takes the zygote to reach from the fallopian tube into the uterus. It takes around 4 to 5 days. So now you see it is almost reaching inside the uterus. So from this 8-cell structure it forms the morula. Now these were the blastomeres, that is the collection of multiple cells, these multiple cell stages. So this morula contained the blastomeres inside it. So this morula was formed during this period only, around day 4th or 5th day. From this morula was formed the early blastocyst. So this is the early blastocyst. Which structure is called a blastocyst? A structure where you can actually see an outer layer and an inner layer separately. So here you can see that a rough outer layer is there and some inner mass of cells are present here. So this is called early blastocyst and it is formed around day 5. From this early blastocyst, you actually end up having a late blastocyst or a mature blastocyst. This happens around day 6th to day 7th. And finally, you have the implantation of the blastocyst. That is, the outer layer of the blastocyst will attach itself to the endometrium. So this is endometrium. So if you see, this one is endometrium. Right, and this outermost layer is the trophoblast, and the innermost layer will form the embryo. So the embryo will be formed inside, and the outer layer which actually forms this is the trophoblast of the blastocyst, and this implantation happens around day 8. So basically the day fertilization happens and the day it is implanted, it actually takes around 8 days, almost a week. It takes for the implantation of the blastocyst. Now once it is implanted, now it gets strongly attached to the endometrium, and then this embryo, after this what will happen? After this we have to see how the embryo develops, because right now you do not see a specific embryo. Do you see a baby here? You don't see, right? So these are nothing but just inner mass of cells. These inner cells will gradually grow to form different cells. Those cells will form tissues, tissues will form organs, they will form organ systems, and that will form a baby inside. So that is how the embryo will develop, and that we will talk about that in the embryo development. So this is how the implantation takes place. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.